Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. 12:31. I think that should be our new show time. I
Yeah,
like it. It's
well, you
kind
know
of
what
like
they say.
PBS. What do
I,
they
I
say?
don't know what they say. I was actually hoping you would know what they say.
They say, yeah, you can start
Um,
a minute after the half hour. That's what they say. How
well,
you doing?
you got to wait for good things. I'm doing all right. I'm in Atlanta. Are you not in your home base?
I am not in Atlanta. I am
I
in.
see a
I know Atlanta's cold, but I'm in a much colder place. I'm up in Cleveland today. I just
oh,
wrapped
nice. I
up
heard
GKO for the company I work for. So it's good.
I heard Cleveland rocks. I sure you'll explain more about GKO later, but it sounds like this is some kicking off event.
Yes, growth kickoff for MRI at its whole headquarters up here in Ohio, suburb of Cleveland. We were downtown Cleveland. I went on a snowy run this morning, and I'm ready to tackle some of this news.
There's a lot to bite into,
There's a
for
lot,
sure.
yeah. Well, first in the kind of the fun side of the news, there's somebody asked in the feeds today about we're just over the 15th of January. When is it time to retire in 2026? The phrase "Happy New Year."
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I consider this along the same lines of when do you stop saying I'm new here, right? Like how many weeks or months can you eventually say, yeah, I'm new here. I don't know that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a gray area from this wonderful AI generated image. It looks like I'm pro Happy New Year all the time, and you're a little less than that. But I actually think once you get through a full week of January, I think you don't need to say it anymore. That's my own personal opinion,
The
but
foot, well, maybe around the time that you take down your decorations completely, Justin, completely.
I'm not done with that yet, though.
Some people leave them up year
Oh,
round.
oh,
If I have decorations
I'm not
on
going to do
my
that.
roof, yeah, if I have them on my roof, some houses are being built now with decorations optionally being added in permanently into the roof line. I think that's
And
brilliant.
you can change the colors, right? Because they're all like, are they computerized? Where you know,
100%.
if
Yeah,
you're if you're a Bills
Halloween.
if you're a Bills fan, you can change the colors to support your
If you're
team,
if you're a
right?
Bills fan, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
have
let's
it shine on the white snow
uh-huh.
up
Also very
north.
also very Americana. But let's dig into the next piece of news here.
Let's
What's going
talk
on?
about Jerome Powell clapping back on the administration.
Mhm.
So something quite unprecedented happened. The Department of Justice is investigating the Federal Reserve for what they did or did not do in terms of their construction costs, and this has sparked a lot of interest from Trump previously, but he kind of dropped it, and then now we're back at it. And Jerome Powell essentially has had enough, and he made an official statement towards the end of this week. He made a statement on the 11th, I believe, and essentially came out and said, this is a witch hunt, for lack of a better term here, and this is essentially a symptom of the current administration not getting what they want, where they want to control the federal interest rates on their own, and they're not happy that they can't do that by way of Jerome Powell. And Jerome Powell saying that he is a man of the people. This is his fourth administration that he's been a part of. And he's basically stating, no, we set rates based on the people, based on inflation, based on the needs of Americans. We don't do it based on the current administration's needs or wants. And he, sort of a mic drop, but he definitely looked like he was a hostage in a hostage situation, right? Where he was being held captive. You can go off and Google the video, GPT the video if you want to see him, but it definitely looked like it was obviously a prepared statement, but it looked like he stayed up a little late, kind of worrying about what he was going to say, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely just one of the indicators that, housing development, real estate, multifamily, single family housing is not going to go away, in terms of issues on Capitol Hill or focus on Capitol Hill or be part of kind of our national kind of discourse. Something else happened, right? That just recently, there's a new National Housing Emergency Act of 2026 that's getting put before
Yeah.
Congress.
Yep, that is correct.
It's a very
This is always
interesting
fun.
layout.
This is cool. I don't know if anyone else sees the layout that we see, but yeah, I'll go ahead and remove that.
I don't know.
Essentially on January 8th. So we just missed this, but we
Yeah.
wanted to bring it back up. Want to resurface this. Senator Eliza Slotkin from Michigan introduced a National Housing Emergency Act bill. And what this does is this invokes the Defense Production Act, something that was last used during COVID times for Donald Trump actually invoked this act for the production of like COVID materials and things like that. But essentially, she says that we need to do this to ramp up the production of key building materials like lumber, steel, and manufactured housing. Now, for example, a lot of our lumber comes from Canada. And when these tariffs became a part of the issue, it, really put a damper on our ability to build rapidly and to keep the soaring cost of creating housing and just buildings in general.
Yeah.
We couldn't put a cap on it. So
Right.
she's saying, look, let's go ahead and invoke this act. Let's get it done. It seems to have bipartisan support from what I can gather. But for multifamily owners and operators, I mean, what do you think is going to happen here, Justin?
Well, if, and that's, we don't know yet, right? But if it happens, it's going to, give a lot less friction to getting stuff done, which is exciting for the industry, right? Especially after a couple years, really, of hard times, kind of moving things forward. And we have a great person, on our show today that can talk a lot about this and sort of what he's been going through in his kind of journey in the last few years. But keeping us on time, that we have some more breaking news, and I have this lovely friend that I'm saying hi to. So Maria, our kids went to the same school in Atlanta. She's a nurse in Atlanta. She started watching the show, and I want to say hi, Maria. I see you, and it's nice to see you, and maybe I'll see you in person sometime. But what's the next piece of news?
Yeah, the next piece of news before we bring on our awesome guest is Obie Insurance has now been absorbed by the Baldwin Group, which is publicly traded. This is just keeps going along with the consolidation aspect. I think we saw Rhino and Jetty last year combined. I still don't know what the official combined name is yet, but I think at this point, Obie made this announcement, and they're very excited to have an exit. I'm sure lots of folks who are a part of that are. At the end of the day, I'm not exactly sure what the Baldwin Group has plans for Obie and the rest of the team. No one knows that. It's a black box, but it's just, further consolidating our industry. In theory, it's potentially less choice for owners and operators. If it ends up going away, or if it ends up just becoming a part of what the Baldwin Group has to offer internally, they want to spin out something with it. Who knows?
Yeah. More consolidations. I'm sure we'll see more of this stuff going on. But before we get into any more news, let's bring out somebody who's a newsmaker himself, and let's introduce him.
Let's do it. There we go. Hey, Ron.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
I'd say Happy New Year, but I'm a big follower of Larry David's rule. Third day is the last day.
What's his rule?
The third day of January is the last day you could say Happy New Year.
Oh, that's really hardcore. So if that fell on a Sunday, you were screwed on Monday. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
It's an episode worth watching if you like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I do like Curb Your Enthusiasm. In fact, I make all my choices based on it.
Larry David is quite infamous for both his jokes and his humor. That's for sure.
So Ron, tell us about yourself, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So I am currently the CEO of One Wall Communities. We started off as owner operators of multifamily. I recently pivoted the company towards third party management, and expanding in the South. But I personally, I got into the real estate world when I was in college. I was living in this house. You can imagine student housing in upstate New York. These like beautiful 100-year-old mansions with 15 bedrooms, with a bunch of my friends, and I was kind of the responsible guy who collected everybody's money and then gave it over to the landlord. And through that, became very friendly with my landlord, and learned of the value of the property that I was living in, and the fact that we were paying, a third of the value of the property in rent every year. So I asked her if she would sell it to me, half jokingly, and she said yes. So I called my parents and kind of talked to them about taking the money that I had saved up from bar mitzvah gifts and some work that I did in high school, and bought the first property. I was really lucky to be doing this, starting off during the subprime mortgage crisis. And that house that I bought, I thought I would come in. I had about $12,000 saved up, and I thought I would buy this house. And I walked out of the closing with the keys to the house and a check in hand because they gave me 106% loan to value. And I was just shocked by that, and learned that there were some real inefficiencies in the market at the time, and got my best friend to join me, and we bought as many houses as we can for free.
That's amazing, because I grew up in college where I lived in a house just like that in Ohio, and the only thing I think any of us thought about was like where we would have the party in the room, not how we could acquire the asset. So it was fun then, but I'm kicking myself to think, man, why didn't one of us do that?
Yeah, offline I can tell you a funny story about being a landlord as a senior in college and getting a call while I'm out at the bar about a bat in the house, and what to do about that. So, but anyway, I ended up, learning the property management business just by doing that. And at the time, I was innovative because rather than using a ledger notebook to keep track of rents, I was using Excel. And so things started progressing. I got into student housing and senior housing when I met my current partners, but then pivoted to multifamily specifically in 2013, and been doing that ever since.
Awesome. Now, Ron, I know that you have your portfolio has changed over time, and what did you end up pivoting during COVID? I mean, tell me what are some challenges that you kind of dealt with during those times?
So during COVID, we were still just owner operators. The light bulb that kind of went off for me on the third party piece was when we sold a big portion of our portfolio in 2020, 2021, kind of at the height of the market, thinking we would redeploy the capital, but we had a hard time making deals make sense, right? Penciling it in. So and then we noticed that some of our JV partners, institutional equity partners that we were talking to, were starting to kind of bypass the sponsor and just bringing in-house asset managers and using the large kind of third-party management companies out there to just manage the properties, and figuring they can do it themselves. That's when the light bulb went off for me, and I thought we have, as an owner operator, we built an infrastructure both from a human capital standpoint, from a business system standpoint, and from a tech stack standpoint that we could really leverage to help a lot of unsophisticated owners who just wanted to get into the real estate game, and eventually hoping that we would do that for institutional groups as well. So that was the pivot, but we really pushed it in the last 6 months.
Incredible. Thank you for walking us through that. Now, Ron, you're a unique, founder CEO, I would say, because your background is, certainly in finance, and you had a unique experience buying out your landlord's place. But what did you go to college for?
I went to Binghamton University School of Engineering for Computer Science, which I had not used until probably the last 3-4 years, really.
So tell us about that. Like, what's the benefit of being a computer science major in the world of property management?
Well, I think the first thing, at least in the last 3-4 years, is being able to sit on a demo with a prop tech company and know how much of it is a pipe dream and how much of it is actually a product that's either viable or working today, which oftentimes is not the case. What it's led for OneWall, it's led us to do a lot of piloting and tinkering with outside vendors, as well as trying to build some of our own workflows and automations and tech that can help really free up our people as much as possible to do what we want them to do, which is foster a sense of community at the properties that we manage. And so the less time my staff is behind a screen, the better. The more they can interact with other humans, our residents, and really help foster that community. So that's the end goal, and we've been doing that, leveraging technology quite a bit.
I can appreciate that statement right there. The less time they are behind the screen, yes, and that's a great realization. Yeah,
we all want that, right? Whether it's for our kids or for ourselves, it's a struggle.
Sure.
But when you've got to pull reports from 17 different point solutions and try to put it into some dashboard or Excel so that someone else at the company can read it, you're wasting a lot of time. You're not problem solving, and you're certainly not fostering community.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Go ahead, Justin.
No, go ahead. No, follow up on that.
I was going to follow up and just ask: Is that one of the good examples? Like, give me an example of something you wanted to solve in house, and then maybe tell me, tell our audience why you ended up doing that versus searching for an outside solution, or maybe you did. Maybe you searched for an outside solution and realized there's nothing really viable.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. So one of the biggest pain points for us is so we're data driven, right? Everybody wants to be data driven, but if you don't have good data, it's very hard to make good decisions. And we found that the PMS, at least that we use, if you pull a report from this screen or another screen, the data, while it's close, doesn't always align. And our asset management team was spending way too much time trying to just pull together information and make sense of it. So one of the first things that we worked on, and we did that internally, and it's a funny story because we thought about doing it probably 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and we brought in outside vendors, and the budget for what we wanted to do, which is really take data from all of different point solutions, put it into one place, and not look at it from a backward looking standpoint, but have AI in today's world analyze it and give us real insights into what's coming, what are the problems that are coming down pipe, whether it's in 2 months, 6 months, a year from now, get ahead of it, right? That was ultimately what we're trying to do. And when we brought these outside vendors and looked at doing it, it was like, I think it was going to take us about 6 months and like $300,000. Fast forward to May of 2025, we decided to pull the trigger and actually do it ourselves, with the help of a really smart guy that's been consulting for us. But I think it cost us about $6,000 in 6 weeks, and we have a live dashboard that's broken down to the various different stakeholders within our company, including our owners, right, to give them insights into everything that's happening and what we should expect the future to look like. So that's been really, really awesome. But what we're working on right now is just building the OneWall hub, is what we like to call it. And we are doing it in partnership with another awesome company that focused on the resident experience and did this from a resident perspective, but we're turning it around and saying, from a community manager's perspective, how can we make their day as easy as possible when they log into their computer in the morning? All of their tasks are kind of prioritized, and a lot of it is automated and just recommendations from AI and that kind of thing. And it's a very cool and futuristic concept, but we're in the midst of building it and rolling out one solution at a time.
I mean, you're welcome to shout out that vendor, by the way. We don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, the vendor's name is Venn. I'm sure many in the audience will recognize them. They've just been at the forefront of branding and resident experiences, and they've been an awesome partner for us.
Oh,
Great.
that's great. And yeah, it's definitely where the industry is moving across, at different companies at different paces. But the idea of putting that data up front, is that something that you, One Wall, would ever become not just communities, but One Wall software? Would you ever package this up and sell it, or do you want to keep this very close to your company's chest?
So right now we're really focused on what it is that we're doing internally. But listen, at the end of the day, there are endless opportunities, whether it's licensing the software, franchising the concept of property management, right? If you make it easy for someone to actually operate a property from start to finish. I think it's funny. I was in this at this conference the last few days with a select kind of few operators and vendors who are really thinking about the industry in a forward-looking way. And we were talking about 2036, like what does that actually look like? And ultimately, people have very different visions, but this could end up being something that escorts someone through their entire life, right? It doesn't have to be just housing. It doesn't have to be just this management company that you interact with around the four walls within your home. So that there's endless possibilities, but right now we're just focused on how do we make the process as simple as possible for our staff and helping our residents feel a sense of belonging.
Very cool.
That's great.
A quick question I always want to ask before Eric asks his: why One Wall? Why did you choose that name? Yeah.
I'd love to give you a really awesome story.
It's okay if it's not a good story. I always like knowing.
It just stuck. We were the first, my partners and I, our first development project was in Binghamton, and it was called, the address was just One Wall Street. And so our organization's name was One Wall Street Associates. And that turned into One Wall Management and later One Wall Communities. And it just stuck with people, just knew us as One Wall. So
there you go. I love it.
Simple as best. Yeah. And Ron, you already sort of answered the question I had, which was, what's your big prediction, for in the future? You sort of laid it out maybe 5 or so years down the line for us. But any big predictions for this year, for 2026 in multifamily you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a focus on Class B and Class C properties. I think that has really kind of taken a back seat, right? Everybody hears about the vintage issue and flight to quality and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that there are liquidity in the market is going to come back to workforce housing. I think there's going to be a real priority setting around service and providing some of the things that luxury housing gets in workforce housing and Class B and Class C asset types.
Awesome.
Love it. Thanks, Ron.
Great.
Appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
again. Have a great weekend, Ron.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Speaking of predictions,
Now, if you have predictions, now's your last chance.
Scan it here, find the page. We're going to be recapping them at the end of this month, so we need them in. People are still posting their predictions, so that's fine. Yeah, but great. Let's keep going. We have 5 minutes, Eric, so let's do 5 boring tips.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's do. We're going to go 5 boring tips here.
5 more insidiously boring personal growth hacks that you're probably overlooking. Number 1, stop complaining. If complaining about our problems actually solved them, we'd have time machines, flying cars, and therapists and coaches would be completely unemployed. Celebrate your wins. It's better for your mental health. Number 2, tomorrow is never coming, so start today. Making the first step is always the hardest, and the more you keep saying you're gonna take it, the harder it becomes. And whatever it is you're thinking about, it's that thing. Number 3, behavior is the highest form of communication, so when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. You are not the asshole whisperer. Stop trying to fix everyone. Number 4, boundaries. Being a doormat and calling it diplomacy is the same as polishing a turd. It's okay to say no once in a while. Number 5, the only reason you have to keep starting over is because you keep giving up. The celebration for a first down is smaller than a celebration for a touchdown, so learn where you are on the field and keep driving. And always remember, this is simple, not easy. Don't complicate it. Hope the
You might be on mute.
I am on mute. Thank you, Nicholas. And thank you, Justin. I happened to see this in my feed and thought it was quite profound.
Yeah, sometimes simple, just like getting the name One Wall. Sometimes simple is profound, ends up being profound in ways we don't think. And those boring tips, those simple tips are in it essentially really profound.
In it to win it. That's
In it,
right.
in it to win it. Yep. All right. This is laid out weird,
We'll,
but
we'll make this better. We'll make this better as we go
there we
along.
go. This is not the
Here's the
actual.
blurriest logo I've ever seen.
You got to wake up earlier, Eric. We can't. We're already running behind. We started at 12:31. You got to wake up earlier.
It's all my
There's
fault.
a credit card. It's virtual. This isn't the credit card, right?
No,
it's just a blurry logo. There is no credit card. It's virtual.
Bill has come out with 3 credit cards now, actually.
But they're not physical. They're virtual.
This is correct, I believe. I don't know. I found the news. I expected you to read the news.
I did read it. I'm telling you what it is. They're moving away from just really resident rewards, and they have tiers of a credit card, but it is a virtual credit card. And so there are lots of ways to use it. Check out their story.
Yeah, and we actually have some predictions from Built coming up for next week.
More on Built and more things in the industry. We'll knock through these really quickly. Multifamily Mentor Matchmaking announced their committee this week. There is 12 committee members. So you can check them out. I did tag them in a post this morning. Camber Creek invested, I think, about $4 million in a company, Whale, which is exciting. It's their seed funding. And
they also started pet deposit insurance. They're taking pet deposit insurance.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch that. And Mr. Parsons had some good insight, as always, right?
Yes, he did. As I go to look up my notes about what I wrote about
it's just the changing winds of renewals is sort of how you poetically phrased it.
Yes. So essentially what is happening, as I lost my entire thing of where we are, what Jay is talking about is the fact that folks that are renewing are actually going to be renewing at a higher than market rate, right? So anyone who's coming in new might be paying less money. That's going to be frustrating. And he foresees this as potentially continuing, or if it does continue throughout spring, then we're going to be hitting, very dangerous territory come the busy season where you're going to find, current residents deciding whether or not they want to stay or go. And the challenge is, for an extra $50 a month, it may not be worth it for them to leave, but they sure as heck will be looking at new places to live if they're paying $150, $200 more than the resident coming in brand new.
100%. And finally, in case you missed it on any day this last week, and 500 posts about it, there are people that are attending an MHC annual meeting. I'm one of them. So if you're going, I'll see you there.
You will be there. I'm pretty sure I'm not going. I could go. I've been on the fence.
You've got a sick kid. Just help your wife out. Just keep the peace. It's fine.
But you can't be me while I'm there. That's the hard part,
thank God every day. I thank God every day. I can phone you in. I can phone you in, sir. I can phone you in.
Speaking of people faking it until they make it.
Getting hot in here, so hot, so take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off. Oh, it's getting hot in here, so hot, so take off all your clothes.
I love him. He's great.
All right, everyone, have an awesome week.
Happy Friday.